Welcome everyone to our 8th episode of our podcast, European Stories from a Union of Volunteers. And today I'm here with Christina. You might recognize my voice from previous episodes. I'm happy to be back. And today we'll talk about making friends and how we maintain ourselves active during our volunteering. So would you like, Christina, to recap our listeners to where you volunteered before?
Yes. Okay. So I'm Christina. I'm from Czech Republic, and you should recognize me from the previous episode. If you don't, then you should listen to it. And I did my voluntary service in Poland, in a small town near Warsaw. Yeah.
Good. So, and for the ones that don't remember, I did mine in Somma Lombardo, which is a small city close to Milan, and it was great. So, first question that I would like to ask you is, like, when you, as we've both mentioned, we were doing our volunteers in small cities, and one would ask if it was easy or difficult to get yourself integrated in the town that you were living, and how did you manage to make friends or get to know people? I don't know.
I would say that theoretically it would be easy because there was already kind of a little group of people that was hanging out. It was like my flatmates and their mentors and maybe some other people that were connected to the organization from before.
Yeah.
But on a personal level, for me, I would say rather introverted maybe or shy.
Yes.
So it was more difficult actually I find it more difficult to integrate myself into a group of people that it's already formed than when it's just random strangers coming together and they're all at the same starting point. So I would say it took some time, but
in the end, you managed to do it.
Yeah. And I would say that then this circle of people was growing. And as I felt already comfortable in it, I was also like inviting new people and like, come.
Join our amazing group. Yeah. I mean, for me, it was a little bit different because I arrived when the volunteers from like the same coordinating association were leaving, because I arrived in the end of July. So the volunteers in Milan from the previous year were still there, but already leaving. And then the new volunteers took a long time to come. And on my small town, I was just living with the other volunteer. So we were just the two of us. But regardless of that, I mean, in the beginning, when I was in the small town, it was a little bit difficult to deal with loneliness because the other volunteer only arrived in September. So I had almost entire of August on my own. But actually, like after a couple of days, I started going to the library and doing my own things and getting like just do what the local would do in a normal circumstance in that place. So yeah, in the end, me and the other volunteer, we had our own bar. We would go to the library because in the beginning we didn't have good Wi-Fi at home. And we would discover these incredible places in the town that we were living that I was really surprised with, and that helped a lot. So you mentioned that you were inserted into an already existing group. You kind of already explained how you became friends with them, but what activities did you do to get your friendship to grow further with time? Did you do trips together or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's also like I arrived just before winter was starting, and especially in this small town, like there's nothing happening. All the activities are in summer. So I arrived to this like dead city and I just had to, like, there were sometimes people coming over to our flat.
Yeah.
But it was still, I don't know, like I would say for me, the kind of breaking point was when the weather started getting nicer. And then we started like going out for a walk together or taking like a little day trip or we went out more in general. We started going out to this one pub that was there, our favorite place. And it all just naturally, as we started doing things together, we just grew closer together, and it all happened very natural. And then also, like, we were also doing more things in our place, because I don't know why actually, but in the beginning it was not so much, like, because we had, for example, we had a projector in our flat. We were very lucky in this regard. And then we would just say, like, okay, let's watch a movie together, and we would have the projector, and it would be all on the big screen, and it was really cool.
Yeah, like in the cinema. That's great.
Yeah.
No, but that's good. I mean, I kind of understand what you're saying about arriving in winter, and that summer is kind of the breaking point, because now I'm living in Sweden. And I mean, in the winter, you also don't have much motivation to do anything at all, because the weather is not good. So what will you do? You will visit a city, but then, I mean, the weather is not perfect. But then, of course, in Italy, it isn't quite the same. I mean, we still have winters, especially in the north, but it isn't, I mean, the weather is not cloudy or rainy all the time, and you have a lot of places to visit. So for me, I mean, the friends that I made were actually either from like Milan, but we actually didn't do many activities outside Milan. The others with whom I traveled with or got to be with more time and build a stronger relationship were the ones that I met on the on arrival training. And you meet all the volunteers from different nationalities that are volunteering in Italy. So we met during that week, and then we would just travel around the country, meeting each other, you know?
Yeah, I was also maybe kind of lucky, because like our organization had, let's say, 3 different locations where they host volunteers. And the day right after I arrived, there was a little internal training within this organization. So I met all these people from like another village near Warsaw and like a suburb in Warsaw. And then we would also like meet together in Warsaw, or when the weather got nicer, they would come to our place and we made a little barbecue. Not a little, we had a lot of food. It was amazing. I was so excited. It was maybe the first time I planned the barbecue, like, I don't know, without my parents or whatever. And we got so much food.
I can imagine. But I mean, barbecue food is always good. I mean, it doesn't go bad. It's better to have a lot of food than less food. So yeah, that's a positive. But then you have barbecue for 3 days, maybe. Okay, I would like to ask you another question regarding any friendships that you made that you were not expecting at all, and they kind of came by coincidence.
I have a funny story, because we were planning some event for the kids. It was a part of like my work, and it was together with a language school, and we had this meeting with the director of the language school, and we were just talking, and she discovered that I'm Czech, and she was like telling me, do you know this girl? She's also Czech and she's living in the town. I was like, no, but I was surprised, because it's really like, it's not a popular destination. And maybe in general, Poland is not so popular for Czech people. So she gave me her number and I contacted her. We went out, and the first time that we met, it was kind of crazy. It turned out crazy, because we were first just together, and then we met with the rest of my group in the bar. And then her boyfriend came there, because she's living in this town because of her boyfriend. And then they invited us to their place. And then we had a lot to drink and And then we came. Then one friend was trying to get into the church, but it was closed.
What?
We crawled over like this fence around, and then we came back home, and this friend and my roommate, they both were puking and they fell asleep, one in the bathroom and one on the floor right next to his bed. So very funny.
That was a very intense first meeting with your Czech friends.
Yeah. And then I have another nice story because I organized a little film workshop.
Ooh.
And it was not so popular. There were 3 people subscribed in the beginning, and my flatmates also joined so that it wouldn't be so few people. And then 2 out of the 3 strangers gave up.
Oh, really?
In the meantime, and only 1 girl finished it. But we became also kind of friends, and we hung out a bit after that, and then she went for work camp, and she was considering also doing a ESC or some longer voluntary service. So
you see, that's a good side of volunteering, because you meet people that don't know about it, and then you convince them to participate in volunteering, like we are trying to do with this podcast, kind of.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have any unexpected?
Well, yes. Actually, going a little bit back to the arrival training, we met a lot of volunteers. And by coincidence, we had a volunteer that was on her own. She was Polish, by the way. She was on her own in another town in Lago Maggiore, which was the lake closest to us. And by train was just 20 minutes. And she decided to create her own project, not a film workshop, but it was called Wood Evening, and where people went to speak English and to practice their English. And it was every Thursday, so we started going there as frequently as we could. And one day, there was this guy that none of us knew, and he was my age. I mean, exactly the year I was born and everything like me. And he was, I would say, half Italian, half Moroccan. And he moved to Italy when he was like 11 or 8. And he basically told his life story about moving to Italy and getting adapted. And in the end, he told me, how he didn't feel so Italian and so integrated in the country. While for me, I was definitely not Italian. I was Portuguese, and I was living in Italy for when we met, for 4 months. I had lived in Italy before, but still, I was also a foreigner living there for a much shorter period of time. And I felt much more Italian than he did. And that kind of resonated with me in the sense that we could have been and had the same opportunities if we had different life origins. So that was kind of eye-opening moment for me. And after that, me and the other volunteer that was living with me, we were so fascinated by his story and the fact that he didn't feel integrated. And we were like, okay, but we want you to feel integrated, so let's do things together. And yeah, I mean, we started going around and seeing each other more frequently. And it was one of the greatest surprises, I would say, from my experience.
I want to say, maybe this is not like a friendship, but what I also like, coming from a city into a small town, I was fascinated by this, people actually know you, people in shops know you. And for example, in this bar that we were going, there's only one bar, so we always went there, and we're foreigners, so we're kind of noticeable. And the owner, she's such a nice lady, and she was always smiling and happy to see us. And then when I was leaving, I asked if I could hug her. so we hugged together. And even now, when I return after 2 years, she still remembers us. So it's like super, super sweet.
Oh, yeah, that's cute.
Then, I don't know, like when I was shopping in the market, because there was a little market on the main square, I also had like my favorite tomato lady, and she was also like, oh, I'm so happy to see you. And I had my little like bags that I was bringing, so I didn't want to, because I didn't want to use the plastic bags. And she was like, oh yeah, I know you, you have your own bags.
Oh, that's so funny, because I mean, in my small town, we had more than one bar, but we always went to this specific one because it was the best one. And it's the owners are three brothers, and the oldest one was one of the closest friends to our coordinator for our project. So we worked with her every day, and then she was like, "You need to come to the bar. It's like a bar slash restaurant." So like we went there once, and to have like lunch, because they make like lunch menus and they're cheap and it's good. And we were like fascinated by the atmosphere, by the food, by everything, by how nice they were. So after that, every time that we had visitors like coming to our town, or even if we just wanted to go out for a drink, we will go there to that bar. And of course, they would know us because, well, we are friends of a friend. But in the end, I ended up, as you did your field workshop, I ended up doing a Portuguese evening in their restaurant, as my like personal project, to tell a little bit more about Portugal and to get Italians to know that you have more than Italian cuisine. Yeah, it allowed me to do these activities, get to know the people in person. And I would probably say that in a big city, you would have this opportunity in much fewer occasions. So yeah, living in a small town is a good feeling as well.
Yeah, I totally agree, because I feel like the volunteers that are living in the bigger towns or cities, they tend to usually hang out with other volunteers or other international people rather than the locals, which in a small town you don't really have this chance. So
you don't have international people around you, only locals.
So you really need the locals, and you get a more authentic maybe experience in this.
Yeah, it makes sense. And actually, one thing that, because I would compare me and my friend to the volunteers in Milan, which were like around 10. So we were just two and 10 in Milan, but we were both coordinated by the same association. And like me and my friend, we would travel around and do like day trips every weekend. Even like on, I don't know, on the end of the evening, we would go to wood evening, to the lake, just to be with people. And then they would like just stay around the city because, well, you have everything in Milan. So I felt that if you live in a big city, you get like comfortable and you don't like exit your comfort zone, and you don't want to explore as much. So that's also a thing that I noticed from the people that I was around with and from what I did personally. But of course, this is not a general view. It can be different depending on who you are and what you want to do. So I guess we're running out of time. I would just ask you if you could recommend any tips on meeting new people and maintaining yourself active.
I would say definitely like be aware of what is happening around, if there is something happening, and if
there is always happening something.
If there is, then take part in it. If there is not so much happening, then try to organize something, because everybody has something that they're interested in or that they're good at, and they can offer this like a little workshop or a meeting or something, and it's a really good way to meet people, and also people that are interested in the same things. And hopefully your organization can offer support in this. If you already have any existing or like any local friends, just meet their friends.
Yeah, definitely.
You have more people straight away. And last thing I would like to say, because I think for some people it's just natural and easy to make friends.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're the kind of person that it's not so easy, that you're maybe more introverted or insecure, then I would just say this is the time to maybe exit this comfort zone
and forget about insecurities.
Volunteering is a time to grow as a person and experience some different things. So just take the opportunity and
go for it.
Do something, do anything. If you have any suggestions, say yes, do it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you said. Look for events around you, because trust me, there are. And in my small town, like, I would most of the times pass by some place and not realize that was an event happening or going to happen. But my friend, she would always know what was happening each weekend. So you just have to put yourself and commit yourself to finding out what is happening, when, and where exactly. And we experience a lot of things. If nothing is happening that weekend, go somewhere else. Even if you're alone, I guarantee you that you will still have a good time. And if you have company, then even better. And you can also organize something, as we have mentioned, a film workshop or a Portuguese dinner, or I don't know, a Czech dinner, anything really, a language cafe. What do you want? What you're interested in?
I really like what you say, because maybe for some people it is more natural to be with people, and it can be this kind of new experience to go somewhere alone and experience something just on your own. And I think this is the kind of things that you should be looking for in this like volunteering adventure. It's something that is maybe a little bit different to you. Just try it.
Yeah, just try it. I think it's a good sentence to finish up this episode. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
See you next time. Bye.